What happens when we die? Is there an afterlife? Do we go to heaven? Or even worse, hell? Can we communicate with the dead? And if we can, should we? Let's find out.
What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 24 of Pedro Paranormal. I am here with my co-host, as always, Carlos, and I am your host, Tony. The reason I'm laughing is because we were almost done filming episode 24, and when I found out I forgot to turn on the switch on the microphone, so we're doing it all over. So if we might forget some of the stuff we already mentioned, but anyways, yeah, I know I'm not the technician. Hey, see what happens when you're not in studio? See?
Everything goes crazy. Like a mummy's curse.
Yes, we're living the mummy's curse right now. But anyways, today's episode is going to be about the mummy. The mummy movie, the real mummies, King Tut mummy, all the mummies that we could think about.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and start. And let's you know what? Let's start with talking a little bit about the whole process of mummification. Let's start there before we jump into King Tut.
Alrighty. Yes.
Yeah.
So what is this process with mummies? What do they do to them once this person passed away?
Well, you know what? First of all, I think the according to what I saw, the documentaries I saw, the whole reason for mummification was to prepare you for the afterlife. For these kings and even common people to come back later. I guess have their body waiting for them to to regenerate. Like the mummy in the movie and stuff. But yeah, I mean the whole process was crazy though, because I mean the whole thing of having to take your brains out through your nose and then dehydrate your body with salt. I believe they use salt, and there was some other stuff they did. I forgot what it was, but they would do some pretty crazy stuff to your body.
They take out your liver, your lungs, and what was the other one on there?
Liver, lungs, and kidneys.
The kidneys, and they would put those in. I guess they would put those in the base, in the little chest area.
Yeah, they would put them in. They would put them in these little jars with like little symbols, right? With like one had like a falcon and different animals and stuff.
Yeah, the different gods, right? And that would be put into a chest that would be put next to your tomb, your sarcophagus, whatever. And the heart would be removed, mummified, and put back in some cases also.
But that was just sometimes, right? Like sometimes they would actually leave the heart in. But,
yeah, I believe so.
And I think
it was always evolving. It was never the same.
Yeah, and I think the reason they left the heart in wasn't it because they thought the heart was like the brain, right? That's where like what made you help you to make decisions and stuff. That's what they believed.
Yeah, if you're an emotional king, yes.
And I mean, and it makes sense, right? Because whenever you're like either have like that's why they call it a heartbroken and stuff like that. When you have strong feelings and emotions, you feel it in your chest. So, yeah, but yeah, so they would put these the organs inside these little jars, and like Carlos said, they would put them in like a box, right? Some kind of box, and put it next to your
chest,
your coffin. So I mean, what else did you find out about the mummification? Was that basically the whole process?
That's pretty much it. They would wrap you around in these bandages, and until you were come back, because according to the Egyptians, death was a continuation of life, and it's probably like the cultures or the different types of religions out there, like like Buddhism. They believe in like reincarnation. Maybe this was an early attempt at their version of reincarnation.
And it's crazy that you mentioned, we were since we were filming this episode already the second time. It's crazy how you mentioned the whole thing of because I was telling Carlos that the reason they put these gold masks with these kings was because before they died, they would choose how they wanted to look. So I guess they would have the mask done before they died, and they would say, this is what I want to look like when I come back. So it's crazy. Carlos was telling me that Was it in a movie that you saw this, or was it a documentary where they would
Right,
like
it was
disfigure
it was a
disfigure
movie,
the mask?
and in the movie, this person that they were gonna bury alive, this person did bad things. He did something bad to a pharaoh. So they said you're gonna die by being buried alive inside of this sarcophagus, and they closed it on him while he was inside. And what they did with the face is that they desecrated it. They removed the eyes. They broke the beard off, and they said you're gonna live forever in their version of hell.
Mm-hmm. So they were kind of going along with the whole thing, belief that you pick your face and that's how you come back. So they tore up the face and so you could come back disfigured. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and inside there were inscriptions, and they just scrape them off. The inscriptions are like little, I guess, little blessings to go to the next life and come back later. Well, they would just scratch those off because you were unholy, in other words.
Yeah.
Not worthy.
Did they ever do that stuff like they did in I don't want to jump into the films, but did they ever do that like in the movie, The Mummy, where they would put those like beetles so they could eat you alive, or was that just total fantasy?
I think that's all fantasy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought there was some kind of truth to it, but
the scarab was just something that was they had an abundance of back then, and we just decided to use it as a little.
Did they used to worship those beetle things? No, huh? I don't think.
I think it was just more of like decoration.
Yeah. Well, anyways,
I don't see any statues or anything that has a scarab. It's mostly like the faces of like a dog or an eagle.
That's true.
Or some other type of god. Yeah.
That's true. And you know what? I know that it wasn't just the Egyptians that used to practice mummification, right? It's been known that in other parts of the world, in Mexico, they have a place called the Mummies de Guanajuato, which means mummies of Guanajuato. And it's a very popular place too. You could actually go and you'll see these mummies. They have like just mummifications of like, I guess, kids, adults, and young adults, children, and old people too. And right there, the thing is, I think they mummified them to almost look like they're still kind of like among the living. Did you know that?
Oh wow! Mm-hmm. Wow, I didn't know that.
Which is
so they look almost like a close to pristine.
Like
they actually look like
they're still doing stuff around as mummies,
Oh, like some sort of action, like they're sitting around the coffee, sitting around the table drinking coffee or something.
It's almost like if they mummified in Egypt, like a person with a broom or something, like. But yeah, so we know in Mexico they have the mummies. What other parts do you know about that have
the story I want to talk to you about is in Mexicali. There's
That's right.
the Bosque de la Ciudad, which means the city park.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's all kinds of cool little activities, but there's one area that has an actual mummy, I guess you want to call it, or a preserved body inside of a casket that's made of glass. You can actually see the individual in there. It looks like, to me, I was a little kid when I saw it, so I thought it was like an old, small lady. Like an old granny, but I think it was mentioned that it's a small girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
A young girl.
Yeah, it's a child.
And that used to scare the bejesus out of me.
Yeah, and if anybody here wants to look at that mummy, they have it on YouTube, right? You could actually watch it on YouTube, because there was a whole thing that supposedly there was video of somebody that went to see it, and when they were recording, you see the little girl's, the little mummy's eyes open and close. So I think it might just be a like an illusion from the light and stuff, but if you go on YouTube, you could see this, and it does look like the little girl like kind of like opens and just closes her eyes. So
right,
yeah, and I know
the eyes don't preserve, right? You have to replace those with some sort of fake plastic or crystal, right?
Yeah. And you know what I forgot to mention before? I'm glad we're filming this again this for the second time. Didn't the monks used to do the same thing, right? Because I remember that there's a mummified monk that supposedly he what do they call it when they meditate, right? And he went into such deep meditation that he died in meditation, but they believe that his soul's still there. You've seen this, right? It's pretty crazy.
He meditated for a very long time, and he actually he hit nirvana, which is the highest that you can go as a Buddhist practitioner.
Yeah.
And supposedly he can actually come back.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of a trip.
Yeah, but it's crazy. It's crazy to think that you could actually meditate that that deep into state that you die. You like stop breathing and they, like I said, they do believe that his soul's still there. That he's meditated so hard that he's there inside.
Yeah, they believe he's still alive, that he's gonna come back anytime now. But well, not anytime now, but he will return to that body.
Yeah, they better be protecting that body. Something bad happens, man. Yeah, so we do know that there's been mummification around the world through, and Carlos was mentioning earlier too that maybe even I think we believe the Aztecs did it too. We're not sure.
I'm not sure, but there is a movie which I'm going to talk about later on briefly. It's going to be probably in the worst movie section, but we'll talk about that one.
And Carlos, I mean, I never knew you went to go see that mummy of the little girl, but I mean, was there?
No? Oh, no. Okay. I should talk to you more about these things that I do. And I used to go visit in Mexico, Mexicali.
Yeah, and I mean, was there any other? Are we having issues with the computer? Oh, there we go. Was there any?
No, it's on again.
Okay. Was there any other like things that have to do with mummies that you've seen in person, or was that like your only?
No, that's the only thing that I recall.
Yeah, because I did go to for any viewers, if you live here in Los Angeles area or anywhere near here, they had King Tut. They had an exhibit here, and this was what was it, like 2 years ago maybe? I think it was 2 years or last year or maybe 2 years ago.
Maybe longer than that.
Maybe longer. It seems like a year ago. But they had the exhibit here at the Science Museum. They don't call it the Science Museum. What do they call the Science Center? Science Center or something like that. In LA. And they usually have special things that they bring once in a while. They also had, remember that those bodies that are all dried up, that I believe they're in Buena Park now.
Oh, okay, yeah. The bodies exhibit.
Yeah, the bodies exhibit. They had that. But anyways, we did go see. I went with my family to go see the King Tut exhibit, which is one of the very popular, one of the most famous cases of mummies. I wouldn't call it a mummy, but just a young king from Egypt. But yeah. So what did you find out about Mr. King Tut?
That exhibit, by the way, was in Los Angeles. It was 2018, I believe. So it wasn't, like you said, it was about 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So what do you know about King Tut, Carlos?
So King Tut, son of Akhenaten, if I'm pronouncing that right, he became king at age 9. Mm-hmm. He married his half-sister, died at 19, and buried in the Valley of the Kings.
Yeah.
And
so I mean, why did he marry his half-sister? Like, was there no other?
That was very common. That was very common practice back then with pharaohs to marry half sisters and so forth. That's why a lot of them, especially supposedly King Tut, they might have had some sort of abnormalities with them. King Tut died at the age of 19, and back in the past, people thought that he was murdered, that he was, I guess, bludgeoned in the back of the head or on his head. But it turned out that he pretty much died of a broken leg infection, right?
Mm-hmm. A fracture.
A fracture, yeah. It was a fracture, and I guess like anything back then is that they don't have the right infrastructure or anything to heal that. Mm-hmm. No nurses or doctors, right? The science wasn't there.
Yeah.
So he died at the age of 19.
Yeah.
Buried in the Valley of the Kings. So how do we discover King Tut?
Oh, that's right. Huh? You did all the research on that. What was the name of that archaeologist?
Yeah, so in 1922, King Tut was discovered by Howard Carter. And Howard Carter was an English, I keep forgetting the name. I guess archaeologist, right?
Archaeologist, yeah.
He was an English archaeologist that had very limited time, very limited resources. He planted the first ground was this little area where he put a couple of tents, and he was very unsuccessful there. It was very close to the pyramids, and he moved to one other place, and then another, but he was successful in both places. So his financier, Lord Carnarvon, said, if you don't find this thing, we're going to cut off all of your money. So he was very determined. He returned to the original place, and he was having more difficulties there until one of the water boys, holding water, I guess, he tripped on something, a stone, and the water fell over, and the water came down, and he came across these steps going in from the sand and going down to some sort of little cave. Mm-hmm. He just ran to Howard Carter, and Howard Carter, he pretty much looked at the area, observed it, and he knew that there were stairs. They went down there, and they found the actual covering of the tomb leading to King Tut's little area there.
Okay. How long was how long did it take to like dig them out and dig all the treasures and stuff? Was it like a quick process? Was it like something that took like 10, 12 years?
It took a long time. I'm not sure exactly, maybe like 2 or 3 years, or maybe even longer, because this back then, they had pieces of paper log, and they didn't have any computers or any kind of photography to take quick pictures, and they couldn't use flash because they would destroy the images and so forth. Yeah. So everything had to be written down, and that's one of the reasons why Howard Carter took forever to get that information out. But before he started taking anything out, he sealed the tomb back up and left for a while. And what he did is he spread these little rumors that, oh yeah, you can't go over there. I found something. It's all over the news. I can't really deny that. But what I can say is that there's a curse, and he made up these curses so that people won't go into those areas and
scare people,
pillage them, and take the gold and take everything.
Yeah, it's crazy how I mean, it's sorry to interrupt, but it's crazy how archaeologists could just go to these places and dig the stuff out. I mean, do they just let you take take the stuff from there? Like, isn't there some kind of law that says, you know what, you can't take this, belongs to us, to Egypt?
Yeah, now there are a lot of strict standards in place, especially Egypt. In Egypt, that was one of them. That's still to this day one of their money makers. And to this day, they're actually reopening King Tut's tomb. It had a lot of problems where it's been exposed to so many visitors, and of course the environment, because it's open now, that the paintings on the wall are starting to deteriorate. There's mold that they can't paint over, and so now they shut it down. They put fencing, and they limited the hours, but they redid everything, and now it's open again. So that's Egypt's big money maker.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that now they probably put some kind of what do you call it? Like something to control like climate control down there, right? Maybe that's what was affecting everything.
Right. That's what I failed to mention, that they do have a new system in there that does the climate control to help with that problem.
That's what that's what I need to do here in my garage, because all of my movies are gonna like end up melting this summer.
Yeah, you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful of those precious things.
Well, anyways, so nobody broke into them, or nobody broke into the tomb after he.
Not really, because it was heavily guarded.
Everybody's scared of the curses and stuff.
And it was funny that first time around, Howard Carter went down there with his financier, Lord Carnarvon, and Carter had a little chisel that I guess one of his grandparents gave him, and as a child. So he went in there and he made a little hole with a little candle, and he looked inside, and his buddy said, or the financier said, "What's in there?" And he looked, and it's like nothing but wonderful things. And he knew that there was gold, there were statues, everything of value was inside that tomb.
Nice.
So when they came back, that's like we were talking about. It took forever to get all that stuff logged and moved out of there.
Yeah. So what happened to this guy? Did he end up dying from the curse?
Yes, I want to talk about the curse. Yes. So Howard Carter was the person that discovered it. Actually, the boy with the water discovered it. Howard Carter was the one that dug it out. He had a curse of his house being burnt down. So it was like, what's going on here? He rebuilt a second home, and then that was flooded. And what's going on here? I wonder what the deal is. He was actually gifted a scarab bracelet, and on the scarab bracelet there was a little saying, or some sort of little line of wording that said, "Cursed be he who moves my body. To him shall come fire, water, and pestilence." So he knew that, oh wow, my first house was burnt down, second one was flooded. I'm just gonna toss this thing before I get pestilence. So now, I don't know if there's any truth to that, but it's a pretty cool little fun story.
So he actually believed in the curse at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he threw that out.
Yeah, and you know what? I did see a documentary talking about King Tut, how they did believe he was murdered, and you know how we talked about the fracture thing, how it wasn't a murder, it was more because he got hurt and infection and all that. But the way they found this out was because they actually took King Tut to where they do is it called a CT scan, or what is it called, that machine where they put you in that tube?
The CT scanner.
Yeah. So they took him to
an MRI.
Yeah, they took him to a machine. They took King Tut out of the tomb and took him to this machine, and they scanned him, you know, and they could see everything inside, and that's how they found out it was the cause of death was a fracture, because inside the fracture there was still residue and material from the mummification. So that means that when he got hurt, it was only a few days after that he got mummified. That's why there was material inside the fracture, and you know, it's crazy how they could figure stuff like that out, you know.
Modern
But
science, man. Just
yeah, so
evidence.
yeah,
That's great.
so you were saying that so the curse ended up affecting him, right? He ended up actually believing that, you know, there was some kind of curse. He had to eat his own words.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so that's crazy. But so what happened to, was anybody else affected, like, of the crew? Because I know when stuff like this happens, when there's a curse, then other people, you
Yeah,
know,
right.
end up affected too. Like maybe the diggers or anybody
Right.
that financed the whole thing.
So because Howard Carter had that scarab bracelet and he threw it away, the curses stopped, right?
Hmm.
So actually, what happened, Lord Cornwall, his financier, the one that was about to cut his funds because he wasn't finding King Tut fast enough, he actually died 6 weeks later after visiting the tomb. What he had was a mosquito bite from the excursion or whatever excavation. He had a mosquito bite, and while he was shaving, he accidentally cut it. He got the blood poisoning, and he passed away because of that. And also his the people, the laborers that were in charge of moving things around down there, using shovels to remove the sand and any kind of help they needed. Those people actually passed away,
Hmm.
and they thought it was a curse. But through time, people figured out, and through science, that bacteria and mold killed most of these people because
Oh
they
yeah,
suffer with a weak immune system.
yeah. I mean, if the
Kind
guy
of like
if
what,
the guy died from shaving, you know.
yeah, exactly. These people die from bacteria and mold, and because of the weak immune systems. It's similar to how if you have an unkept restroom and you don't have the exhaust fan in there, you develop mold over time. And someone with that's asthmatic or has some sort of a breathing problem, they'll have issues with that.
Yeah, and it's crazy.
I would also like, yeah, I would
It,
also like to mention our great friend Aleister Crowley.
why? What did he have to do with the mummies?
Well, supposedly, according to Mark Bain, he wrote this book that Aleister Crowley was responsible for the curses. That when these tombs were unearthed, that they were desecrating the Egyptian gods,
Hmm.
and I guess he was trying to do something with his religion because they're loosely based on,
Yeah,
I guess, Egyptian folklore.
yeah.
But according
He was
to
he was just trying to make himself look cool and stuff.
probably, but according to people that read the book, they're saying this Mark Bain guy is just it's not really the truth
Yeah,
that Aleister Crowley did this stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, but I just like to mention Aleister Crowley.
yeah. And you know what?
Yeah.
He always has to come back to our episodes. But
Yep.
yeah. I mean, you know, now that we're talking about these curses and stuff, you know, I think that's why the genre of like movies filmed with that have to do with the mummies and stuff are so popular. You know, because there's so much mystery behind the whole thing of like the curses, the mummification process alone is horrifying. You know,
Yes.
and the beliefs, you know, the spiritual beliefs behind everything. So it makes good film. You know, good movies.
Right.
So
Yeah, it was boosted with in the 1920s with the first radio broadcast of boxing and baseball, and the first presidential address to the Americans. So I think that's what boosted all of these movies and movies into the media.
yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, let's get to the movies. Let's get to the good stuff,
Yeah.
the juicy stuff.
Oh, the juicy stuff. I want to talk about 1932's The Mummy by Universal Pictures. This one stars Boris Karloff as Ardith Bey and Zita Johann as Helen. And I just want to get out of the way that Zita Johann was actually one of these spiritual people from the 1930s that actually prayed and did a little bit of that stuff before these films. She was actually a big believer in spirituality.
Mhm.
And we had an episode before, I think we're talking about the Ouija board, where people in the 1920s and 30s actually loved, that's when the Ouija board became very popular and people just loved using them back then.
Yeah,
That was all the rage and hype back then.
it's crazy when these movies get filmed. How there's not always, but a lot of the times, especially movies that have to do with the occult and stuff like that. There's always someone in the cast that's like, you know, into the whole spiritual thing, and kind of like the movie Poltergeist, where they had like the person that plays the protector of the family. He actually did cleansings and stuff during the filmings, and in the Exorcist film the same thing. And even now, like a guest we had not too long ago, Nicole Six. You know how she's into the spiritual stuff, and she told us she was going to be filming some movies. She's actually filming some films right now. and she
Oh,
does
cool.
some, and in the film she's actually playing like herself, the whole doing the spiritual stuff. But
Okay.
I follow her. You can
Yeah.
follow her on Instagram, and she does some of the stuff during filming too. She'll like read the tarot to the cast and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think we should have her back on the show.
Yeah.
And because last time I don't know about you, but I felt very overwhelmed. She has so
Yeah.
much information, and I don't know how to prepare for a next interview or so.
Yeah. Shout out to Nicole Six.
Yeah, shout out.
Hopefully we'll have you in studio soon. But yeah. So
The Mummy, 1932's Boris Karloff. This movie is very unique because it's the first Universal movie that has an original script. All the other movies, Dracula, Frankenstein, and I think The Wolfman, they were all borrowed concepts from other films,
Mm-hmm.
or not films. I'm sorry, but books or any other type of like media besides the movies.
Yeah.
In this movie, Boris Karloff plays Ardeth Bey, and he's the mummy. Like the first few minutes are like a flashback of these people going in, and they find the seven seals, like a cave, and they find the seven seals. Oh, it has to be the seven seals or whatever it is, and they find the tomb and they find the mummy. And this what's really unique about this is that this is the only part of the movie where you see Boris Karloff in the actual mummy suit.
Oh, so he does it.
It's just
So
cool.
he does. So he's not a mummy throughout the movie.
No, he's not. It's very strange.
Oh. Okay, don't tell me. I haven't
You should
watched
watch
it.
it.
I haven't
Tony.
watched it.
It's a really good
So
movie.
you said this movie was like it's very similar to the one with Brendan Fraser. Is it like was that one a
it's
remake of that one?
The 1999 movie borrows a lot of the basic storytelling of this movie
Oh,
from
okay.
1932.
Oh, okay.
But they added a lot more action, a lot more filler story in the 1999 version. So I like both movies. But I recently watched 1932 and I was like, oh, I really like this one. Because to me it's new. And because one of the reasons why I like it is because this movie is not because it's black and white, because it's really well lit. And the camera action is groundbreaking for this year of 1932. There's a lot of panning. There's a lot of not a lot of zooming in, but the camera just works well with the scenes.
I gotta check that. I gotta check that movie out now.
The cameraman and director. Mm-hmm.
I gotta check it out.
So yes, the movie is black and white, but it's very contrasty. There's a lot of good bright lights and got a lot of good dark lights. And Boris Karloff's eyes, the way he doesn't say much or do much in a physical way, but just his eyes are very menacing.
So was it like the remake where he's trying to get all his like body parts back and stuff?
No, they didn't do it like that.
Oh, okay. But it has nothing. So in the original Mummy, what is he? He just a mummy, he kills people?
In this movie, they find his tomb, a couple of people there, and what do you call them, excavators or whatever? Excavators. Archaeologists. A couple of archaeologists find the area. They have the tomb set up against the wall with the body. They see the scriptures around the sarcophagus. They find the chest that we talked earlier with all the body parts in it. But there's a curse on it. If you open this up, you're gonna have a lot of problems with the mummy, and it's gonna be walking around.
Oh. Okay.
And the script is also used for the mummy, so he can bring people back to life, or the mummy back to life, and do all kinds of nonsense. So, anyways, the guy reads. He's not allowed to read it. This young archaeologist, because his two seniors say don't do it, but the two seniors leave. He reads it. Next thing you know, the mummy comes to life. And this is a pretty cool scene, because even though today, to our standards, it looks kind of ridiculous, because he just goes into this insane laugh. The mummy doesn't kill him. The mummy just grabs the script and walks away. And he's just laughing like all insane, like and it's a really convincing part.
Yeah.
And what really makes this very original is because these actors were they're going through some sort of evolution, because they came from the silent era, and now there's audio, and they're trying different techniques, and it works really well. But in this scene, you only see Boris Karloff dressed in the mummy still, and when he's walking away, all you see is just his foot and a little bit of the bandages. You don't see him actually moving around or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
That's the only thing you see of the typical mummy.
Oh, okay.
The rest of the movie, he plays Ardeth Bey, which he's putting a lot of money in. This is years later. He's putting a lot of money into excavating a tomb, where he's getting more information. And in this case, he doesn't have the bandages. He has this awesome makeup done by Jack Pierce, the makeup artist. So it's not, his face is not like corroded or deformed. It's just like all these tiny little wrinkles. Supposedly, it was a very painful process to put this mask on.
So he just looks old
with the makeup around his eyes. Yes, and with the makeup around his eyes and the features of his face, Boris Karloff looks very menacing.
Nice.
He falls in.
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So Boris Karloff meets Zeta Johan's character Helen through a few acquaintances. Helen in this time, she's already falling in love with this other man, but as soon as she meets Ardeth Bay, their eyes connect, and you find out that Helen is actually half Egyptian, and she has that bloodline of Oksana Moon.
Oh, okay.
And,
so I kind of see the relation now with the Mummy, with the Brendan Fraser version.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And their eyes lock, and she's in a trance. So I talked about all the original things about the Mummy. The Mummy was Universal's most original when it came to developing something with a story, but they also borrowed a few things here and there from other franchises. Supposedly, they not supposedly, but they took Dracula's way of communicating or putting a woman in trance.
Yeah, so it does the same thing.
Frankenstein's slow walk and strength and so forth. So they borrowed a little bit from here and there to make this movie.
That's cool.
And so he's in this form. He's not in a mummy form, but I loved it. I love this movie a lot.
So you
has this.
So you think that one was better than the remake of it?
Because I'm a pretentious old butt geezer that loves old stuff. I like it a lot. I like it better because I already seen the newer, not newer, but the 1999 version so many times, and I watched it again, and the special effects were great back then, but now when you look at it, it's like they aged very well.
I know.
But I do love the comedy and the action in 1999's The Mummy.
Yeah, so you were saying, okay, so we were talking about the original Mummy film.
The original Mummy, from 1932.
So what were you gonna say? I was asking if there was a second part, right? Was there like a second and third part by the same the same cast, or was it a different cast?
No, not at all. I want to get to that first. Next.
Okay.
There are other follow-ups to this,
uh-huh.
but they have nothing in relationship to this movie.
Okay. So they were their own films.
Yes.
They were their own films.
In a way, they were. Yeah.
Okay.
Now going back to the Mummy, Boris Karloff's The Mummy. One of my favorite scenes is when he's trying to attack these people that are on Helen, because not only did they desecrate the tomb area, but they're getting in the way of him going towards Oksana Moon and reviving her through coming back. So he has this in his little temple or living quarters, he has this circle or so of water, and you just see this awesome lighting of the lighting just reflecting off of that and going onto his face. And what he can do with this is look into people's lives, and he sees what's going on with his paperwork, because at one time they take that script that he found that he took a long time ago. Mm-hmm. The good guys take it and they want to burn it. So what happens is that with this little fountain of water, he's able to look at what's going on, and he's able to kill people with this amazing grasp. And you just see Boris Karloff come to the camera like this and just squeeze the living soul and heart of his enemies, and they just die on screen. I thought that was a really good scene.
Does he physically touch him, or is he doing like a Darth Vader choke?
He's doing like a Darth Vader through this little mirror crystal ball pool thing, kind of like the Wicked Witch.
George Lucas.
Yeah. But just the action, the slow burn action that's going on is well worth a watch.
Nice. Definitely gonna watch this. I'll probably watch it tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I would recommend it, Tony. It's one of my favorite Mummy movies.
Yeah, because I did watch a few Mummy films. I actually only watched three Mummy films, but two of them were horrible. They were B titles, so I don't even want to talk about them. And of course, I did rewatch the Brendan Fraser version for like the millionth time. But anyways, go ahead. Let's get back to the original one. The originals. So the
original one ends with, like I mentioned earlier, Ardeth Bay, which supports Carla, wants Helen, and they're in a trance, but love conquers all, and she's saved by the heroes of this film, right? But now let's go into some of these other movies that came after The Mummy's Tomb, The Curse of the Mummy, The Mummy's Hand. There's one in particular that I saw, which was weird because when I saw this movie, I thought it was going to be like an original, but it's actually the continuation or the sequel to The Mummy's Hand. I saw The Mummy's Tomb.
Wait a second.
Which takes place.
Which one's this? Do you know the order of these films?
Yeah, and that's the thing. This is where I kind of goofed up and I saw The Mummy's Tomb, which is the sequel to The Mummy's Hand.
Okay.
And these two movies have no relation to the original 1932 Boris Karloff classic.
Okay.
The problem with these is that, well, the pro is that I wanted to see this because The Mummy's Tomb stars Lon Chaney. Lon Chaney is known for the Wolfman from Universal. So I thought I was going to see a little bit of Lon Chaney action here, but unfortunately, his face is covered. You can't see his face.
So which one is the actual sequel to the first Mummy?
There is no sequel to the first Mummy.
So that's it?
Crazy.
Okay.
Isn't that great? I think that's great.
In a way, it has its pros and cons. I guess it kind of just leaves it. That's it.
Yeah, it's like they put it in its own little catacomb, own little tomb.
But I mean, the Mummy's Hand. The Mummy's Hand. What's that about?
Oh, the Mummy's Hand.
Did they chop off his hand?
So this takes. Yeah. Mummy's Tomb and the Mummy's. Okay, so I get the Mummy's Tomb. Now I'm confused but they were both bad movies. I don't know which was which. But the one that I saw with Lon Chaney, which I can't see his face, it takes place 40 years after
the Mummy.
These archaeologists find a tomb. Mm-hmm. So what happens in the second one is that there's always like this third person that takes care of the mummy.
Okay. This
person is like a high priest. So in the first one, he gets shot, he goes down the steps, and he's gone. He's dead.
Yeah.
But in the second one, he returns and he teaches a new, younger person that, hey, you have to take care of the mummy. You have to avenge his desecration of the tomb. So that old guy dies. The new young guy, what he does is he takes the mummy overseas and he actually brings him to America to attack the Banning family. The Banning family is the family that desecrated the tomb. So one by one, the mummy goes out and he kills.
So it's pretty good.
Now, it's no. If there is a pro to this, Tony, the pro is that there's a couple of cool little things. And I was talking about how they borrowed a little bit from Dracula,
yeah,
a little bit from the Wolfman.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in this movie, they borrowed the full moon. The full moon is it activates the mummy to go out and kill.
It gives it,
but he's not very motivated. So the only way to motivate him is to get these little tannin leaves. With the tannin leaves, you boil them. With three scoops, you keep the mummy alive across the ocean, going from Egypt to the United States. And with 9 leaves, you restore his motion. And when you give him nine leaves, or whatever it is, a drip of 9 leaves, he goes out and he attacks the Banning family. So one by one, he's attacking. He kills the uncle that was out there. Then he kills his sister. And at the end, he tries to go for the daughter, but he's saved by the boyfriend. And of course, he's saved because he's killed in the Banning family the home going up in flames, and the mummy's burned alive.
That's what I was gonna say. Did they end up burning him?
Yeah, I think in all these movies, burn him. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, the original sounds really cool. I don't know about this one. It sounds okay.
No, it's bad. It's bad.
Sounds okay. But you know what? Jumping now to the remake, which is the one that I actually saw and I really enjoyed, even though I watched it a lot of times. The Brendan Fraser version. I don't know, something about that movie. I think it's just Brendan Fraser, and you were talking about the girl. What's the actress's name?
Oh yeah, Rachel Weisz.
Yeah, Rachel Weisz. But Brendan Fraser, just the character he brings to this film is just awesome. It's just that whole
definitely
comedy, action,
very charismatic actor.
Yeah, what happened to him?
What I love,
Brendan Fraser, where are you?
Yeah, right. What I love about this, the Mummy though, how it's different than the Brendan Fraser version is that this Mummy is an actual horror movie.
Yeah.
And it gets you right there by looking at his eyes, him killing off these people.
Yeah.
In the 19th, sorry, we're going back to the. See, that's how good it is. I'm going back to the original Mummy.
Yeah. But you know what I really liked about this movie is because it's not it's not rated R. I believe it's PG-13. Even though it's
the 1999 Mummy,
the 99 one, even though there's a lot of the whole thing of him getting like the eyeballs and all that stuff. The cool thing is that they really don't show when he does these things. It's kind of like they'll show like a shadow of a person being lifted and he takes the tongue out and all this stuff but they don't actually show like the physical violence. But it leaves it up to your imagination. That's one thing I really enjoyed about that film, that it just kind of like because I watched it with my kids and my kids loved it. They're 8 and 11 and they loved it. But
I watched it again and I was like, I'm gonna hate this movie. I'm gonna play it because I just watched the original Mummy, and I'm gonna play the Brendan Fraser one. And I was like, I have to go through this. And I started watching. I was like, I like this. This is cool. This is fun.
And you know what? If you watch
it's not a horror movie. It's an action movie.
Yeah, it's an action movie. The best way to watch this film is on the big screen. Because I put it up on the projector and it's awesome. Just some of the cinematics where the airplane. Remember where the guys, the airplane, the Mummy turns into that sand thing, the sand head,
and those guys are on the wing. They're all like this.
Yeah.
One guy's like, no, he's scared. And the other guy's like, yeah, he's like happy about it because he's on the plane.
Yeah. And that was awesome where like how he's going to, in this movie, he also does a thing right with the jars. He's going to look for the jars, and plus of course he needs other body parts. And like you said with the original one, Rachel Weisz ends up being one that's related, right? She has the blood of the original
Egypt.
The princess and
that's
stuff.
Right.
But great film. And you know what? I really enjoyed the second part too. It wasn't as good as the first one, but it was still good. Then the third one kind of like and then the fourth one like
There's a fourth one? I didn't see the fourth one.
There's a fourth one.
Is there?
That's what I think. That's the one where they show the Sasquatch and stuff, like Bigfoot and stuff.
I thought that was part 3 when they're in China in the Himalayas.
No, is it? There's part 3. Is part 3 is with Jet Li, right?
Yeah, that's part 3. I think there's only 3 of them.
Oh, okay. I was thinking there was 4 of them, but anyways, I guess part 3 was that bad that I thought it was 2 different movies. But
so the Mummy's Hand, the Mummy's Curse, the Tomb of the Mummy. Don't watch them.
Don't watch them. Yeah.
There's no relationship to the original 1930s
Yeah.
movie. The only good thing that I got out of it were just the 10 leaves to keep them alive and the full moon, which isn't saying much. Another bad movie that I would probably avoid watching in this year into this campiness. And again, I saw the second one, but I didn't see the first one, which is because it has a different title for the name. That's why. This one's called Wrestling Women versus the Mummy, 1964.
What is it called?
Wrestling Women versus the Mummy, 1964.
Wrestling Women?
and this is originally a movie from Mexico.
Oh,
this is a movie from Mexico. And it threw me off because when I watched it on YouTube, the names were switched around. So when I go do some research on it on YouTube, on Google, it'll give me different names for these characters.
Ah, okay.
It's black and white. What it is two wrestlers face thieves seeking treasure in an Aztec tomb, and a mummy with the ability to transmogrify. In other words, the mummy can change from different animal to different animal. Oh, okay. So it's like Dracula mixed with the mummy. And
it was a combo. It was a combo film.
Yeah. So it's these. What the story is that these wrestling girls, they have a family and friends that this scientist has found the Aztec mummy, and he finds this codex. Actually, the codex is what gets you into this area to find this Aztec mummy. But he split the codex into several pieces because he didn't want Prince Fujiyata, the criminal, to find this area. So what Prince Fujiyata does is he puts this camera in the girls and the family's house, and is blatantly just put it in a bookshelf, or actually a shelf with a bunch of different alcohol bottles there.
Yeah.
And it's so cheesy because every time they're in there, they're talking, and he wants it in the scene. requests Prince Fujiyaka to eavesdrop, it's always the same scene with the stupid cameras
The bottle.
with the same bottle of liquor. It's so bad.
So bad. Is it so bad it's good? Or just...
It's so bad it's bad.
It stays bad.
So in the beginning, they do an establishing shot where they're fighting and they're wrestling. So it's a ring and there's a crowd and they're wrestling. That takes like 10 minutes. You're like, oh God, let's go and get some dialogue in. So they do the dialogue and the girls are fighting in locker rooms and so forth against the assassins. And that's kind of cool, but there's a lot of problems with the edits because one of the girls' hairstyle changes and there's all kind of weird stuff going on. Yeah. So Fujiyara, I guess he ends up finding the part of the codex, and there's a problem with them facing the Fujiyara. So the girls are like, "Hey, give us that part." But Fujiyara's like, "No, I challenge you. I challenge my two sisters to fight you in the ring. If we win, we get all the information, and you guys can't find the mummy. We have to go on." So that's what Fujiyara wanted. So they're wrestling. It's like, oh my God, it was like 20 minutes of them just wrestling and fighting. It was just bad. So they finally come to the end, and Fujiyara's like, "Well, you defeated us, but let's make a bargain." And the girls come in and they beat the other girls. The sisters come in and they beat up our heroines, and it's just weird. It just goes on, and you know what? You don't even see the mummy until 70% of the film is over.
I got lost.
You watch it, you get lost too.
You know what? If any of the viewers, if you were hearing some kind of whistling going on, that's because they're still doing fireworks. Even though 4th of July was last weekend, but yeah. So you know what?
So you don't see the mummy until 70% of the film. The mummy starts coming out and it starts attacking the girl. In this case, one of them is called Charlotte because she's like an acquaintance to these wrestling girls. She actually has a necklace that the mummy needs, so she has it in her room. The mummy goes in there and he turns into a bat and he flies up to her room and he tries to take this large necklace. The sun comes up. He's like, "Oh, I can't take it now because the sun's coming.
I'm gonna turn back into a mummy."
Yeah, he's like Dracula. Yeah, right. So he leaves the necklace behind it, and when he exits the room to go back to his tomb, all he did was just play the scene of him coming in as a bat in reverse. So it's just so bad.
Oh man, it sounds horrible.
So anyways, they go back to the tomb. Mummy's able to shapeshift. They try to burn him. He shapeshifts into he disappears. He comes out of the corner of the other side and he shapeshifts into a tarantula, and he's crawling up this girl that's going to be pretty much crucified or sacrificed for the next girlfriend that this mummy wants, this Aztec mummy. But this is the dumb part. One of the wrestling girls just swipes it down like you would a large tarantula spider in your home, and it'll fall to the ground, and she puts a coat over it, and it tries to go back into the mummy. But before that happens, they grab him, chain him up to one of the pillars that's holding up the actual Aztec tomb, and they make their escape because the sun's about to come up. So he's on this pillar, and he's going like this with the chains. Dummy him, he moves forward and backwards, and the whole pillar comes down, the whole temple comes down and kills him. Yeah, but you know what? Don't watch that movie. It's pretty bad.
Finn.
The wrestling woman versus the mummy, 1964.
Oh yeah. Don't watch. Don't waste your time.
Yeah, don't waste your time on that one.
But anyways, you said you wanted to talk also about the Imhotep. Is the name of the movie Imhotep?
No.
Oh no, Bubba Hotep. Bubba Hotep.
This is a comedy. This is one of those love it or hate it kind of movies. A lot of people loved it. A lot of people hated it.
Yeah.
It is a slow burn, but it's also very charismatic because of the two main characters.
Yeah.
It's Bubba Hotep.
Bubba
Hotep starts Bruce Campbell as old Elvis. And also his buddy in this, I forget the name of the actor, but he plays an elderly black man who thinks he's JFK. And this came out in 2002. And I'm going to read you the brief synopsis of this. After falling into a lengthy coma following a freak accident involving hip gyration, a now-aged Elvis Presley wakes up in an East Texas nursing home where he befriends Jack, an African-American senior who claims to be JFK. After the residents of the quiet retirement community start dying of dubiously unnatural causes, Elvis and Jack discover that the perpetrator is a murderous mummy named Bubba Hotep.
Yeah.
So this is great.
Yeah, it was a good. I remember watching that movie.
Here? Oh, there's a lot of cool one-liners, a lot of cool things in this movie. Some of my favorite parts in this movie with the Elvis's backstory. So Elvis back in the 70s, he's already tired of the life of being Elvis. He's tired of his friends because all they're doing is just mooching off himself. He's kind of sad because he's going to have to leave his Priscilla and his little baby girl behind, but he wants to get out of that. So what he does is he hires this man, I forget his name, but he's nearly identical to him. He's an Elvis impersonator, and he switches sides with him. So he becomes so-and-so, and the Elvis impersonator becomes Elvis. This new Elvis goes out and he dies of drugs and overeating, where Bruce Campbell's Elvis continues in his retirement home, which he's in a retirement home because he loses his money in a freak accident where his contract was burned at a barbecue grill off on his RV. It just exploded in there. Anyways. Anyways, this mummy starts attacking them because it was being transported from somewhere else, who knows where, in a bus crash. It was being sent to a museum nearby, but this bus crashes into a creek. Bubba Hotep comes out and sucks the life out of people, and he sucks the life out of these people in this old folks home through any kind of orifice, and it's just silly because sometimes he takes the soul from the mouth, other times he takes it from the rear. So it's just so it's Jax and Elvis's or JFK, because he doesn't like being called that. JFK's and Elvis's thing to put this mummy back. So let's see. And some of the funny moments of this movie is that Elvis suffers from erectile dysfunction, bad hip, so he's in a walker the whole time. Erectile dysfunction. He's always talking about that. So it kind of drags on. Some parts it's funny, sometimes it's not. He has a growth in his groin area, and the nurse has to take care of it with some sort of cream steroid. And there's some funny moments there. I laughed at that part, and I laughed at certain parts where there's this like Fast and Furious moment where he's on a walker and his buddy JFK gets beat up and he's about to have his soul sucked, but Elvis doesn't have his walker anymore. But he jumps on his buddy's electric wheelchair, and it's this whole Fast and Furious scene where he just goes back, reverses, and twists around, and the tires burn, and he goes and he charges up against the mummy, and it's funny. It's just great. All right,
so we're having crazy technical difficulties. So I think we're gonna end the video here before any other horrible stuff happens. It's crazy because we were talking about terrible. Well, not what was
Bubba Hotep.
Bubba Hotep. That's a good one. But yeah. But anyways,
what was I talking about before I cut off? I forget.
I don't know. You were saying something about my brain's all over the place now. Something about the movie that it was actually really good. Kind of, a slow burn, but still really good.
Okay.
But yeah, sorry guys. This episode's gonna be all over the place this time. The only other movie I watched was The Mummy with Tom Cruise, and that's not even worth talking about. So.
Oh, I saw that movie. I actually saw that movie.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I liked about this movie, besides they used the female role of the mummy this time, and she was pretty. She was very exotic looking. But what I really liked about the movie, which is not saying much, is that they're starting their whole universe, which is a universal dark thing, I believe. And they're trying to incorporate the creature from the Black Lagoon. What's his name? This guy plays Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. What's the name of the actor?
Tom Cruise? I don't know. I don't remember. I just remember Tom Cruise in it.
Okay, so he played the Spaniard in that one movie a long time ago. Russell Crowe.
Oh, Russell Crowe.
So Russell Crowe plays Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and I like that because they're in the library and they're fighting around and they're making all kinds of a mess because of the current fight. And the Book of Life falls. The book from the original 1999 Mummy falls down, and you can see it's all gold, and it has that key. So I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah. So I mean, I know they were trying to bring back all the monster films again. I think we talked about this in one of the previous episodes. They were trying to bring all the movies back, but the Mummy movie didn't do very well. So I guess they kind of just put it aside for now. But we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future. Was there anything you want to mention, Carlos, before we finish this mess of an episode?
Yeah, don't let Tom Cruise take creative control of any movie, and it'll be a success.
And you know what? It seems like talking about the Mummy and the curses of the Mummy. This episode's been so cursed.
Yes, it's more than just.
It's King Tut, dude. It's King Tut.
It's King Tut, and it's more than just mold and bacteria that's causing these problems.
I know.
I do want to mention. I'd like to thank one person, which is the communicator. He brought a nice little 4-pack of beer for me this week. So I'd like to say thank you very much. You're keeping my lifeline going, so I'm good about that.
Hey, I gotta keep him happy if he's gonna continue to do these episodes.
Especially with all these problems.
I know. But anyways, guys, well, thanks for watching this episode, and
thank you very much.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that stuff. Message us if you want to. If there's any kind of monster films any kind of monsters you want us to do a future episode on, because we are going to be doing these episodes until Halloween. Hopefully we don't run out of monsters.
Yeah, or any fun facts about any kind of things that you've encountered, any sightings or anything that you've come across, experiences.
Yeah. Or if you have
we can talk about it.
Or if you have a ghost story,
your consent.
Or if you have a ghost story you want to share, just go ahead and message it, and we'll read it out here, and we'll read it on one of the episodes. Yeah. But anyways, all right, Carlos. Well, this is the end.
The end.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it. Let's wrap it up, bro.
Let's wrap it up. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next week on San Pedro Paranormal. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.